This is the Sisters in Therapy podcast. I'm Dr. Mercedes, licensed marriage and family therapy supervisor.
I am Dr. Brittany Harrell, licensed professional counselor.
I am Dr. TK, licensed marriage and family therapy supervisor.
We are inviting you to be a part of our thoughtful, mind-shifting, mental health-related conversations that we have all the time amongst ourselves.
This podcast is not meant to replace your relationship with a licensed therapist. Now, let's get into the session.
What's up? Welcome to the Sisters in Therapy podcast. We're back with another session. This session is titled Relationships, Marriage, and Divorce. Yeah. So this is a common topic on social media, relationships. They don't last like they used to. They don't look how they used to and things like that. And it's been said that young people, especially millennials, tend to break up more than their older counterparts used to. And recently there has been some data that surfaced and people got a hold to it. And it's been a hot topic on social media, and it was talking about the divorce rates. I think me and you had a side conversation about it, but Pastor Jamal Bryant was talking about it from a male perspective. And basically they're saying that this is the largest group of single Black women post-slavery, which was very interesting to me because I'm like, I didn't know anybody was tracking that. Right. But the divorce.com is the website that kind of had the divorces. And so basically what it's saying, out of all the races, Black people divorce more than any other race.
That's interesting.
Not surprisingly, though.
I've seen different stats that said actually that white men divorce more than any other group.
Well, I don't know when.
And go into second and third marriages more.
I could see that.
White, but they said collectively, Black people divorce more than any other group. And I also saw that Black women are the ones who are initiating the divorce.
I did see that.
Which is not surprising to me at all. But it's not just Black women who are saying, oh, I'm going to leave. It's other people are saying that they're just doing it more. But Black women are also least likely to be married than any other race. And the divorce initiation exceeds married Black women, if that makes sense. There are more Black women getting divorced than there are Black women getting married.
Okay.
So we're going to try to have a productive conversation about it. Productive and just sharing professional and personal opinions, because we all work with women, right? Black, white, all types of women. So we get to hear these stories from people's from these people's perspectives, and so we also are women, and we're also navigating it as well. So we're just gonna try to have a conversation about it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. One of my favorite topics. I feel like it's such a trending topic, and it's always something to talk about with relationships. But I always feel like something is missing from this conversation, and I hope that we can address some of those things.
Okay.
So one, how do y'all think relationships differ today than in the past?
I was thinking about that as I was looking over the notes.
Okay.
I think from my observation, I think primarily for women, I can only speak from a woman's perspective. I think for the longest time, we've watched our aunts and our grandmothers and our mothers endure certain things that sort of deter the interest for a lot of people. And I could also say that for people who see their parents with kids, right? Or like if they've been parentified at a very young age, that often deters their interest into having kids.
Okay. So that's speaking specifically about motherhood.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So parentified means that sometimes the oldest child take on some parental responsibilities for their younger siblings.
Right.
And that can be, a barrier to somebody saying like, this ain't for me.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. And I think women are getting to a point of decentering what they previously thought was supposed to be for them. And they're putting emphasis on or focusing on where the love is easy, right? Whether it be sisterhood, family, if they have healthy family dynamics, and self relationships. So I think women obviously still want it. They're not willing to sacrifice themselves as a result of being in a relationship.
And that's something that I think is important that we talk about, because I'm going to speak for Black women. I think there's a myth that Black women don't want to be married, don't want to be a mother, don't want relationships, don't want children, and that is not
to be independent.
Yeah, there's a myth.
No,
that is not true.
Right.
That I would say that is not true, because when I'm a Black woman, I know that we desire those things, and I work with Black women. It is a common topic. Like, when is this going to happen for me? A lot of women are asking themselves this question. I think Black women don't desire playing small. We don't desire stroking egos. We don't desire shrinking ourselves, and sometimes that leads us to not being in relationships is what I think. Some people will disagree.
And that's fine for them, but I would definitely say whenever you discuss like what are the barriers for people wanting to get married, that's what stood out to me is like one, we're talking a lot more now about human and individual rights. So the right to just like freely exist and be yourself and be treated well, and also prioritizing that like self-actualization.
That's good.
These are not things that have always been a priority. They weren't able to be a priority. They
Right.
weren't necessarily necessary before. Now we have the space to desire these things and to achieve them. And so
Right.
if we can get them, cool. Relationships,
Yeah.
let's go. If not, people can kind of have these things on their own. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
People keep wanting for both.
Right. And the hope is that you'll have that, right? Like I don't think there's quality of life in solely being isolated, right? Like I think
Of
For
course
sure.
not.
having healthy relationships builds up a greater sense of self, I think. And to what both of you all are saying, women want a relationship,
They do.
companionship.
They do.
They're not willing to be unnecessarily inconvenienced or their life being harder than what it needs to be just because I have a man. I don't think
Yes.
women are in that place anymore.
I don't believe women are in that place either. I can say some women are in that place, but for the majority of women, they are choosing wellness and peace.
Right.
And when you're in a relationship and the cost is your peace,
Right.
I think that's too much. And
Right.
then you really, but also, we have to also make sure we talk about how being in a relationship somehow has quote unquote been a societal norm to add value to a woman's life. And if she's not in a relationship, then somehow she's less feminine and all these things. That's also a topic in my therapy room.
Yes. I think it's a fear tactic. It's to scare women into being
Settling.
settling and to really fall in line, I think.
Falling in line is true.
And women aren't really going for it anymore. I don't think.
I don't think they are either. But I want to make sure we hit on the other side of this topic too, which are men.
Yes.
Because I listened to something, and it was a while back, but they were talking about how dating in general has just changed.
Yeah.
The requirements from one another has changed and shifted. So not only do we want more self-actualization and we respect our humanity more and things like that, some men are doing the same as well. And so they're also requiring that emotional space of manhood being more than
100%,
just being
yeah.
a provider and things
Right.
like that. And so
I think that's
we
a
can't
healthy
shift
piece
just
to
what
it.
we want. We have to shift also what we're all willing to give, because what we're
Yeah.
willing to give
That's a
is
good
different
point.
than what we have been required to give in the past.
For who? Men and women?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I agree. So I love the evolution from men. I wish it was actually more popular. I don't think it is popular as it should. I think it could be more popular for men to have their perspective and approach to dating. Because it would mean that they're also decentering themselves from patriarchy,
Right.
which is what I think is needed for heterosexual relationships to be sustainable and healthy.
Yeah.
But we're gonna talk a little bit about the marriages, and then we're gonna come back to the dating. So for first, let me just say millennials would be people born between 1981 and 1996, according to Google. But apparently, they think that millennials approach love and relationships differently than previous generations, and we kind of just hit at some of the reasons why. We've grown up in a world of rapid technology and diverse cultural influences, and we change societal norms all the time, they say, as millennials. And as a result of that, they think that we're selfish and we prioritize individuality more than anything. But one of the things that they say that millennials do is be authentic and have authentic communication and authentic kind of lifestyles.
Right.
And they can be frowned upon because, again, it means that you're not falling in line with what people say you should be doing as a man or a woman.
Right.
I love that for us, though. Actually, it feels like you're taking your power back, but it does not mean that you will not be criticized for
course.
being a woman and saying, "I would rather go focus on my career and maybe I would get the husband and the children afterwards." Whereas previous generations, women did it differently, and neither one is wrong. It's just all about what works for you. But I can say that women have been criticized for that approach. I've heard preachers criticize women for this approach. I've heard a lot of people criticize women for this approach, and it's almost saying like, you you need to. This is why they think that you don't want a man, is because you're chasing a career or you're going after your dreams and aspirations and things like that. And I don't necessarily think that has to be true.
It's
No,
not
because
true.
it's not true. But that goes back to Brene Brown's web of shame whenever it comes to women, is that you're going to be criticized no matter where you fall at in the web. No matter if you decide to be a housewife and you stay at home with the kids, people are going to be talking about you not providing or not bringing in money and helping, and times are different or changing, or you're deciding to work and you're prioritizing that and you're not being there for your children. It's like no matter where you fall at any given time, it's going to be seen as a negative thing.
Yeah.
I think that that is true, and also it feels like it's limiting women because people are not taking into consideration how much womanhood has evolved since say the 1950s. It has evolved a lot.
Drastically.
One, it's just not the same as it was, and I think that's okay. I think
has
that's
to be.
okay.
It's we're not in a society now where one person works and the other one stays at home. It's that percentage is getting smaller and smaller.
It actually hasn't been like that for a long time.
Correct.
Probably at least 3 decades, because I'm 30 something, so it hasn't been like that for at least 3 decades.
You 30 something?
30 something. 30 something. But I think that the reason why marriages aren't lasting is what I read here is why some marriages aren't lasting for people like millennials and Gen Z, because Gen Z is also following in the footsteps of millennials when it comes to their approach for marriages and relationships, according to the research.
Okay.
And it says, which we all know, we had a podcast episode about this, probably about 2021, about the financial insecurity of millennials with student loan debt. That has probably been one of the biggest things that millennials face. I think millennials have said to be the brokest group.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but look at the economy. Most educated, but brokest. But we face financial insecurity because of the economy we live in regards to not being able to have high-paying jobs. They said millennials don't have high-paying jobs, cannot afford homes. Those are some of the challenges that impact the quality of life. And that will also impact how a person show up in a relationship.
Absolutely.
Correct. Yeah.
And so back to marriages in the U.S. So they said that in 2022, there were over 2 million registered marriages in America. 67 million men and 68 million women. But when it comes to sustaining said marriages, it's saying Black adults have the highest divorce rate and the lowest marriage rate. Black women are the only group among other races with a number of divorces higher than the marriages rate. We just said that. Different studies show that African American women are more likely to get divorced than women of other races. Sociologists suggested it may be because of a lower income and job prospects. Black adults also make up the largest share of never married groups. Notably, 79% of 25 to 29-year-old Black women and 18% of 55-year-olds were never married as of 2016. What is missing from this data? What are they not taking into consideration about us culturally when they talk about Black women not being married?
I don't know what you think, too.
I don't know that they're not taking into consideration per se. I would just say overall, just in general, I guess it does go back to culturally. The plight of Black women, especially Black women in the United States, have taken so much and have had taken from them so much since the beginning of time. And so now that we are an educated group, and now that we do have right to this self-actualization and know that we get to be empowered, we get to require people treat us well. If it's not a necessity to have people around to take care of us, then it is a burden. It is something that is not necessary if it's going to cause harm. There has been a history of cost benefit analysis. There has been a history of constant harm, some harm we had to endure to survive. We are not in that place anymore.
Yeah.
So now the cost does not outweigh the benefit. There's no benefit.
Right. Yeah.
I think Quinta, is her name Quinta?
Quinta Brunson?
Yes. So when she speaks about dating as a successful Black woman, she said, I don't know the context of the conversation, and I know Quinta is married to a white man, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if somebody was asking her why she wasn't married to a black man or what. But the answer to her question was the shrinking of oneself in order to have a partner was just not something she was willing to do.
Ooh, my mind.
Which makes sense to me because honestly, when I read "Ain't I a Woman: Black Women and Feminism" by Bell Hooks, and I really seen the plight of Black women throughout the history of the United States, I thought, how dare a motherfucker ask me
No, that's
to
facts.
shrink
That's
after
facts.
all that they have went through, after all that they have endured? Who am I
Right.
to put myself in a position to be belittled or talked down on whenever these women went through so much,
Yeah.
fought through so much for me to go back and
Yeah.
be treated badly? No.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even just being treated badly. Sometimes it's just soft misogyny and subtleness. It ain't even really just like overt. Sometimes, but I
But
think
not getting to exist. That's
Oh,
the
I
point.
get it.
So it doesn't have to be physical. I'm not talking even about physical harm or overt degradation. It's
Not being seen.
exactly.
yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but sometimes there is a piece where women intentionally do this because it's in the Ride or Die book
Yeah.
that the current book club read is talking about it. When women speak differently because they think that's what the men want anyway for them to shrink themselves and play small. So I think women also play a role in that perception that we must shrink and
Yeah.
play small and act like we helpless.
And you know the interesting part is I don't think it's not even easy to pick up sometimes. It ends up
You
being,
naturally do it.
it becomes I have done it before and I have
I've
caught
seen
myself.
some of my friends
Girl,
do it.
what are you doing?
Mercedes swears she see it everywhere.
I have seen some of my friends do it. I'm like, then that voice changed, that pitch changed. But I get
If
it.
he's nice and encourages a soft
Girl.
life, he will get the softest parts of me. It is
Girl,
not
I
that
asked
hard.
somebody to grab this thing for me so I don't break a nail. She said, "There you go."
No, I didn't. When?
Austin.
Oh, your voice was definitely going in and out of pitch.
Oh,
That is
it's
okay.
hilarious.
I love it though. It was, I mean, as it should.
wasn't.
Yes, it
No.
was. But it's okay. It was beautiful. I love seeing you like that.
Anyways.
In those moments, it's okay. But anyways, yes. Anyways, it's right. You said a lot. So we're definitely gonna have to clip that up. Right in that moment when you talked about what are they missing from the data. What I think is missing from the data is taking into consideration that Black women tend to only date Black men, and mass incarceration is a barrier to that. All the other races are not faced with their men being in prison at a large amount.
Right.
A lot of Black men are in prison, and that has been said to be a barrier to dating for Black women. But they did say that the reason why Black women may not be getting married would be the low job income prospects. Now, Black men would be very offended by that statement, but it is a common theme because Black women tend to make more money than their husbands. So they're saying low job income prospects.
Okay. So the circumstances contribute to,
Yes.
and even to the divorce rate, right? Didn't you say there was a correlation between like societal factors on marriages? Did you say that in one of the stats?
I don't know. But
Low income.
lower income people did divorce more than higher income people.
Okay.
So financial reasons was definitely
Financial reasons.
a reason why people are leaving marriages. I think
still one of the top reasons.
finances
Has been
will
for a
be
long time.
one of the top reasons for sure. In the conversation that I seen Pastor Jamal Bryant having, he was saying that because this is another thing that women come in therapy and say that they did everything right. Why is this not happening for me? But
Heard that a
Pastor
few
Jamal Bryant was saying like these women have done everything right. They educated, they got careers, they're independent, they take care of themselves. I'm like, I've never heard, but he said they doing everything that the Bible said do. I'm like, that's not what the Bible said do for women. Women were supposed to do actually the opposite of that. But I think that is one of the reasons why the marriages rates are low for Black women, because they are, like you said, more self-actualization.
Yeah.
You got your own career. You are self-sufficient and things like that. And then there are people in the comments who are saying that being educated has nothing to do with marriage.
That's a
I
lie.
think it has a great deal to do with
Let's talk about
there
it.
are stats that say otherwise. I'm sorry. It's
So
real
what
life
so what
research
what
and
does that
stats.
mean? So when we say being educated, are we talking about college degrees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, some say that they don't, some say that they do, but yes, college degrees. And they say that it's not even necessarily about the degree itself. It's about being able to provide yourself and lowering that type of financial tension within the relationship. It's also about just maybe more social experiences with
Okay.
a variety of different people, being able to socialize more, being able to problem solve more. So it really is just an extension of how we're handling and navigating everyday problems in life. You
Okay.
have more experience and more time to grow with a variety of different people as versus the people who don't. I can't imagine if I would have stayed at home and my problem solving skills were based off of what I
Right.
had access to.
Right. Yeah.
I think that I've seen successful college educated black women date non-college educated black men. I have seen
I have.
I've seen successful relationships. And I don't necessarily think that it has a lot to do with being college educated. I think it has a lot to do with just your intellect in general, because intelligence is not the same thing as intellect. People can go to college and get a degree and still be super
or you mean like
misogynist.
common sense?
Not just common sense. I'm just saying intellect. People go to school and they go to college, but they still graduate college with a horrible ideology of what it's of being a man to a woman.
Yeah.
They have misogynistic thoughts and ideology about women. But I do, back to the social side of it, I can see how it can be a barrier between like somebody you're dating not understanding the importance of like homecoming and why it's such a big deal. The social part of it, I think, can be a barrier because it can lead to some jealousy and some just not understanding why it's such a big deal because they don't know what it's like to be in that environment. They never experienced it.
Right.
I think that could be a problem.
Right. Yeah. So how are we helping? Because a large portion of my clients are women, and a great deal of our conversations are about
Yes.
dating, right? So like, how are you all helping your women clients navigate, and male clients too? 'Cause
Yes.
I have a couple of male clients who are navigating dating, or are married. But what are those conversations like?
Come on, marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
No. You said dating. That means these people are single.
Dating, married.
No, we talk about dating.
Okay.
We're all working with people who are struggling with the idea that they are single. How I work with these people is by basically we need to establish what would this be adding to your life. This relationship. What is are you just doing? Because are you doing this because people say you should be doing this because you're 35 and you don't have this now, so this means, and they're like, yes, and I'm like, I get it, right? But you putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be 40 and married now. This is the do, because it used to be like, let me be married by 30. So the age has gotten pushed further out because they are still single.
Right.
So then we have a conversation about why they're single. And this is when it get interesting because the whys be basically everything we just said.
Yeah.
I won't shrink myself. I will not pretend like I am don't know,
Damsel in
like I'm
distress.
easily manipulated.
Yeah.
Or I won't like just go along with things that I don't agree with. This is the reason why they're saying that they're single.
And I feel like that's hard because all of that is valid, but also so is the desire to want to date and to have
Right.
love.
It's a
and
conflict.
connection. And so really is one of those things that like there's some things you can't CBT your way out of. I can't
Right.
change
Nope.
your thoughts and feelings around this. All I can do is give you grace and self-compassion and teach you self-compassion for where you're at right now.
Yes.
And validate that it's okay to want these things.
Right.
It's also okay to want to honor yourself.
100%.
Like it's not, you're not doing anything wrong. And lots of times I feel like the women that I see think that they're doing something wrong
Yes.
because they have boundaries or they require certain things from their partners. And this isn't making six figures. It's like,
Oh, we don't talk
no,
about that.
be reciprocal in our
Yes.
interactions.
Consistent.
Be consistent.
Or be kind.
kind, considerate. Like all
Yeah.
of these things are basic relational things that I tell them it's okay. Don't when you require some of these same things in your friendships,
Right.
Yes.
consistency, kindness, consideration, then it's okay to have these. You're not broken.
Right. Yeah.
This just may take more time.
A lot of women feel guilty for having those desires of wanting to be in a relationship, but also wanting to be respected in this relationship, or I don't want to like make this person mad. But if I'm being honest, I've taken dating like I would do any other goal and make it measurable, and we just put some steps in order. Like, in regards to like, you maybe go on 5 dates this month, and you see how those go, and then if it doesn't work out, I think the biggest thing for people to do is just stop holding space for stuff that's not working and just move forward when it's not working.
Right.
And so when they do
That
go on
part.
these dates, I have heard women say, and I can attest to this because I used to go on dates too. they come back and they say,
just go on dates.
this is a very traumatizing event. Absolutely.
Traumatizing
Yeah.
event.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used
These
to go
men
on
are
dates, too.
ruthless.
Yeah.
First of all, have you ever tried dating during the Kevin Samuels era? It was absolutely
Gag.
a hot mess.
Ew.
It was a hot mess.
ew.
So when women come back and they're broken because of the experiences of going out on these dates and then the way that they're being talked to,
It's exhausting.
it
is.
is exhausting. So you got to take breaks. And you got to get back out there. So just like
Right.
any other goal, such as like meeting new friends, you put yourself on a dating app, you give it a shot, you try this for a month, it don't work, take a break and get up and do it again.
Right.
Because if dating is the goal, if getting in a relationship is the goal, then we're going to make sure we're doing the steps, but we're not going to overexert ourselves.
Right.
Yes, and I would also say ground yourself in like what are your standards, not your mother's standards, not
Right.
societal
Oh, that's a whole different
standards.
topic.
What are your personal
That's
standards for
sustainable
what you want
relationship.
your relationship to look like?
Yes.
So that when you go on these 5 dates or you don't get a date at all, it doesn't hurt as much to like let people go or move on to the next because you're not losing anything because those things are not in line with
Right.
your
Yes.
standards of how you want your relationship to be anyways.
Right.
Facts.
I would say a large part of what I've had to help my clients work through is repairing the self relationship as a result of
That's
a dating
self-trust.
experience.
Yes. Somehow they blame themselves for the partner, the person they're on a date with treating them the way that they treated them.
Right. And through processing, they've admitted to the desperation. So, like, they entertained certain people just, again, to say, I've been in a relationship before. And so, a lot of the work has been building a stronger self relationship. That way, discernment is at the forefront.
For
You
sure.
Pay attention to how your nervous system feels
For sure.
when you're in different settings. Because, like you said, sometimes they feel like they're doing something wrong because they have standards. But sometimes it's hard standing on business, guys.
It is.
It's hard having standards.
You really got to accept that it's going to take longer for you to find somebody. You just have to accept that.
Exactly.
If you have standards.
Exactly. So I have to I encourage them if you want to take yourself out on a date, my goal for them is let the world be your oyster, right? My little quote that I tell my clients all the time, don't entertain a person asking you what you bring to the table. You are the table. If you are here, sit and
People
feast
still
and enjoy
asking
the
that?
space.
I'm tired of the
Yes.
table
Now I want
conversation.
oysters. Thank you.
I'm tired
Try
of
grilled.
the whole table conversation is a little bit asinine
Listen,
to me because
I am the table.
And not
sit
going
feast.
on to Cheesecake
Okay,
Factory
let's
and other
talk
place
about
for
it.
dates. I'm
Hold
like,
on, hold on,
what-
hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's just have we women. I don't believe women are maybe I'm delusional. Are women?
There are some.
Yes.
Yes.
Are-
Yes.
Yes.
There was a
I heard personal stories from people I fully
Listen,
trust.
let's
and they
talk to
asking
the-
to get flew out on the first date, girl.
Yes.
What?
Okay, so let's talk to women specifically about this then, because what are we doing?
There was this girl on TikTok. I don't know if this is a skit or not. I don't understand why
said,
you
"What are we-"
recording yourself on the first date. That's weird to me. But whatever. Maybe it's just for her content. I don't know.
Influencing is taking us
But
somewhere we
she
don't
was
need to go.
recording herself, and he was gonna take her to Cheesecake Factory. She's recording. Why don't you want to take me somewhere fancier? He was like, you know what? As a matter of fact, this not gonna work.
No, at all.
And
And I
Good for him.
respect that.
100%.
Absolutely,
He is
yes.
not good for him.
Right.
For respecting himself too. Because
Exactly.
they don't owe you no.
No.
But are men pursuing women, Instagram model type women? Is this why they're getting those experiences?
I mean, maybe.
I'm just
Everybody need
I would
discernment.
say which they might need to
But-
adjust as well.
I think
but
men
that's
do
the
too,
thing.
adjust.
Everybody is dating not everybody. Some people are dating for the vision or for the aesthetic.
Yeah.
So we're not even interested
Yeah.
in
The person.
dating one another and knowing who
Right.
people are. And that's also one of the key reasons why people divorce is
Oh,
overall
100%.
incompatibility.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because y'all ain't really trying to like each other.
Right.
or taking the time to get to know each other.
No, because you
Right.
care
But-
about the aesthetic, where you going, and
right.
what she look like.
Exactly.
Okay, I do recall a conversation with a young woman, and she had some through the roof expectations for dating. So you're right, women are out here doing that. But if you are a woman and you have expectations for a man to kind of spend all this money on the first date, I would say that is also internalized patriarchy.
Absolutely.
You are also contributing to this patriarchal system where women date for money. That's you're a part of the problem.
Absolutely.
And letting him know that this is the only way that he could possibly provide
Yes.
value to
Yeah.
your life or interest in you. And I hate that for you that you think that this is the only
only
way
thing,
a
yeah.
man can show interest in you is by buying you super expensive things or
Right.
flying you out.
I think that people struggle with how to date because they don't have no social skills or something. So therefore, sometimes men do show up to a relationship trying to spend money. I hate when they approach the dating scene with spending money,
Right.
and then the woman get you. I actually have this. Then the woman get used to you dating her that way, and when
Yeah.
you try to take it away, she's a bit confused, and then she's a gold digger. But this is how you started off dating her. That is also a problem. Finding different ways to get to know women, having boundaries with yourself about money, but also Cheesecake Factory is great.
I love
I don't
Cheesecake
need-
Factory. But
If
that goes
food
back
is
to
involved, I'm going.
that goes back to men too, having a standard of how you want to set up your relationship. Do you want it to be founded and grounded on
Right.
how much you can provide? Because are you
It's strict around
perpetuating
here.
patriarchy?
I
and you're
challenge
able to
my
provide?
clients
Yes,
on
me
first
too.
dates. This is what I'll be honest, as a relationship therapist, I'm always challenging the men and the women. When we talk about first dates, I say, I think it's okay for you to pay for your own food and him to pay for his own food on the first date. That's just my opinion. Since we are in the era where everybody is thinking that women are trying to date just for food, I always tell my women, it's okay for you to pay for your own food on the first date. And then also, before you even go on a date, how about y'all have a conversation about expectations for first dates in regards to paying for food? Because you go to the date and now you don't
Y'all
know.
both awkward.
Everybody's been awkward once the bill come out, and I've had women say they going on dates and the man just said just get a drink, like don't get nothing else, and she's like, well, I can buy my own food. I'm like, but just have a conversation before you go about first date expectations. That's the
Yeah.
only way to really get to the knowing of how somebody wants to be on the first date. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with having a conversation about it.
No.
I agree. I'm looking like this because I'm like, for me, I guess, and how I would date personally is I want to talk to you a little bit and get an idea of your personality before I even go out with you.
Yeah.
Because if we don't know that, like if we have to have a conversation about it, or if we're just sitting up here looking at each other crazy, then we have zero rapport, and I'm
Right.
out in front of you. Baby,
No.
I'm sorry, I'm not the type to meet you after you done talk to me for one day. I'm not
Right.
gonna do it.
No, that's fair.
No, people go on. People
I know
see
they
at the people will meet at the grocery store and have a coffee date the next day. I've had clients that do it, and I love that for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is meeting on technology. People are actually meeting in grocery stores.
Look at them.
And I love that. I have clients
That's so
who are
beautiful.
meeting men at grocery stores, and they go to the coffee shop date
That's
the
my
next
dream.
Let
day.
me stop getting curbside.
But it's okay. But people still will talk for weeks and still not talk about the first date expectations.
I'm experiencing people who just want to text, and that's annoying me. I like a good balance of text and phone call.
So then it goes back to knowing how to date and how to capture interest
yeah.
from a woman who obviously can have a full conversation. You have some curiosity and interest of the world, so you know how to talk.
Right.
Some people don't know how to talk, and that is a barrier to people actually moving forward past the texting stage.
Yes.
But you can say that. I have a client who kind of just said the same thing with their dating, and they were like, well, I kind of like to talk every day versus I don't need to talk every day, or I want a phone call. I'm like, you can always ask a person like, hey, are you usually a texter? Do you
This is
usually
what I
like to
mean
talk
about
on the phone?
Right.
Expectations
Like, what's-
for dating. They're not having these conversations.
yeah.
They see it as conflict. Why is that conflict to say like, hey, what your preference is? Because you're not even requiring or requesting anything at this point. It's really a genuine curiosity.
So let's
think
give some
people are-
tips about new dating.
Okay.
What you about to say?
I was gonna say I think people are afraid to if they speak up about a standard, they're afraid of losing that interaction.
And then you just weeding them out.
yeah.
Boom. See, I wish
It could be that
this
simple.
perspective has really been a lifesaver for me. I'm just saying, in the dating game,
Okay.
whenever I think about it as weeding them out, it's so easy to let go
Yeah.
because I'd be like, I thank God that this only lasted 2 weeks or 2 months
Right.
versus people be here for like 10 years. Baby, no,
Yeah,
thank you.
no. Mm-mm.
Thank you for showing me
I
your
take
name.
This is what they mean when they say that millennial women have patience that's thin as paper.
Girl, I said that about you. But I can appreciate that perspective too because I like to believe that I'm an expansive being and I like to learn different things about myself in these different experiences. So like, sure, it's unfortunate that it ended, but I'm glad I was able to experience X, Y, and Z. Like you said before, like using a growth mindset in these experiences, that way you learn about yourself in the process.
We're up here talking, but dating is not easy. And
Yeah, I don't
So,
think
baby,
anybody
I'm
would
single
disagree
for
with
a
that.
reason.
but how often have you as a woman kept entertaining something that you know was not going to go anywhere?
I
I
don't
like
think
you was about to say coming to you as a woman.
no. How often?
Barbara, this is Shirley.
Wait, you thought I was about to hit you with the Barbara.
Woman to woman.
See what?
Go ahead.
Come on, girl. What you guys say?
Man. Now I'm thinking about Barbara and Shirley.
Yeah, because Barbara,
no.
leave that man.
I said, how often have you entertained something that wasn't going anywhere?
No, for sure. Which
Oh
is
my
why I have the
goodness.
standards now.
No, girl, I'm just asking. That is coming, right?
I'm
Yes,
agreeing
I
with
feel
you.
like- I feel
How
like
often
I
have you, Takesha?
often, honestly, it probably didn't even change until maybe 4 years ago for me.
Okay.
Like I knew it wasn't going anywhere. I knew it wasn't really serving me, but I was like, it's serving me.
Period. Period.
No, don't clip that.
But that's a good point because sometimes it do be serving some needy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
As long as you know
And
what
I
you're
was-
doing.
And I was in a place to where I was like, oh, I got time. I was still in my, 20s. I was like, oh, you got time.
No, girl, because
But-
baby, let me tell you.
So I just recently,
Girl, yeah, I just had that story, child.
I just recently
I said it was serving the need.
stopped
Sure.
doing things that,
For short-term gratification.
yeah, don't serve me in that way.
Yeah.
I've learned to serve
Yeah.
myself in better ways.
I mean, hey, individuality,
and so-
gratitude is immediate. You know what I'm
it's
saying?
a lot of gratitude.
Girl, let me tell you.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay. So
That solitude
stop
is
doing
crazy.
that. But what helped me stop doing that and
They had
giving,
a
what was the question? Giving to what I don't need.
This is. Did y'all know? Do y'all know what they're talking about?
That, if you are smart, you'll pick up.
what they used to say back in Walton. It'll come. Or was that UAPB?
What?
It'll come to you.
It'll come to you.
It'll
come
come
to
to
you.
you.
Okay.
Just keep that
Literally,
charger.
come to you. Oh.
Megan got a whole song on her album about
Anyway,
But-
yes.
The question was
how often do you entertain
things,
It's not.
people
people.
romantically that you know it's not going anywhere. But we talked. You answered the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to
went
do
all-
it back in the day, but now I don't really do it as much anymore. Also because at that time when I was coming off of that, I also came into just a more spiritual part of myself, which
Okay.
really filled me up in a different way. Not trying to be funny, but it really did. So I just grew more and more into myself.
Okay.
And so it's like that, not that like missing piece of me that was being entertained by these people or these things, was really filled with me being happy with myself, doing things with myself, really diving deep into my friendships. I'm like, there's so much love there. Like I don't have to. And this love with my friendships can be long lasting,
Right.
and enduring and can keep growing. These other things, it's not going anywhere.
Right.
It really is just taking up space.
Right.
That's
Okay.
unnecessary. There's so many other things that can be beautiful and lasting and loving whenever
Okay.
I put my energy there.
Yeah, I've definitely done it before.
It took a while. I said I
mean,
just
it-
came out of it.
Yeah, it takes a while. It could take a while, but when I learned to value myself more and focusing on where the love is easy,
Mhm.
I don't have to have you in my life just to say that I have you in my life. You're not adding any quality. You're not really seeing me. So what really is the purpose?
It's easy to get caught up though. I ain't gonna
It
lie.
is easy
Every
'cause it's
now and then it might be
familiar.
a couple weeks. Before it was probably a couple years that I got caught up in it. Now it might be like, oh, a couple weeks, a month. Okay, this ain't serving.
Right.
Which is the goal. It's not that it's never gonna happen or that you're never
Right.
gonna get caught up in something. It's that
Right.
you recognize it sooner that it isn't going anywhere and cutting it off then.
Right. And I
Okay.
think even with that, it's also in having patience, right? Like if I'm communicating a boundary and this person is not receptive, oop, that's a red flag. That's interesting. I don't think this is gonna work.
Okay.
Accountability and knowing.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So
How often for you?
my patience is thin as a piece of paper.
Her
Is-
patience is about as thin as a piece of paper, okay?
Let's talk about that because people, not necessarily just for you,
Oh.
but I mean, we do need to get
I
into it,
see.
sis. But even with that, I feel like you have said to me sometimes you always look for a reason not to like this person,
I said
or
that.
like to, or yes,
when you
tell
don't
me,
like them,
you
yes,
tell
you
me
do.
I be looking for a way out.
When you like them, you don't. But when you don't like them, I'm like, girl, just be done. You don't like them. looking for you, looking high and low.
But sometimes our patience is too thin. I think sometimes it's hard to find that line of how much to like give or try versus how much to not, especially when you've been single for a long time.
Right.
You
Your
are
tolerance is
independent.
Right.
You do feel happiness on your own.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I think we all have to decide what our threshold is.
100%,
right?
and it may be different for a different person.
For sure. And I tell my clients that all the time, like, okay, well, did you communicate? Like, you're both learning how to occupy the space together. How consistent are y'all in communicating in the healthiest way?
But that's the issue. No, their communicating is not in depth. It's just surface level stuff. So my tips
you went into tips because we didn't really go into tips.
No,
okay, go ahead.
But I'm a little bit different though because I feel like I am. I'm not like just like I'm a woman, but I also see it from the man's perspective when it comes to heterosexual relationships. And I'm just like, if you want this to be healthy and sustainable, you need to have a conversation about stuff. And my thing is like communication expectations. Are you a texter? Are you a caller? Nobody's having these conversations. So then they're on the other side saying, I haven't heard from this person. I don't really know what to think. They're not texting me. Should I text the hoe? Should I text or call first? I'm always telling women, text the man if you're thinking about him. I'm not the same. I'm not going to be like, oh, you need to wait for him to text you. I think that's stupid.
I think it is too.
If you're thinking about him, then text him.
If you want to text him. Mm-hmm. If he texts back, cool.
Right.
If not, y'all don't.
Okay, exactly.
It's the same way. It's fine.
It really is. So if you text this person and they're busy and they text you back hours later and they say they was busy, it's okay for you to say, hey, maybe you just let me know like your schedule, and then maybe I can text you when you're free. Like, let's try to get consistent because you don't want to be anxious thinking about it. But it's okay for you to ask that question.
Yes, and it's okay for them to not receive it if that's not something that they have the capacity to do. And you have to know for yourself that that doesn't make you needy. I have a lot of people who think that makes them needy. No, that's just your communication preference. You're not asking 100%. For too much to want to talk to your person.
Okay. So tip number 1, if you're thinking about a person, text them. Mm-hmm. Man or woman, text them if you're thinking about them. There's nothing wrong with texting.
Mm-hmm. But just pay attention to the dynamic, because if he's been inconsistent with communication, I don't know if you need to reach out.
Again, if you're thinking about the person, text the person. If they don't text back,
not if he inconsistent.
Now don't stalk them.
Right. But if they don't text back, that's a different story. But sitting around, if it's new to him as well.
Mm-hmm. Right, for sure.
So therefore, he may also, if both of y'all are over there thinking and waiting for the other person to text first, I just think it's so asinine. Just text the person. Now, being inconsistent, that's something totally different. That's you recognizing when something is not working and you continue to entertain it. I'm not asking anybody to do that, but I'm saying if you're thinking about somebody, you should text them and let them know.
And don't be waiting. Yeah, I agree.
And if you and when it comes to dating, I think that a conversation about, since we're in the era where everybody think that people are dating for food, I don't know where that came from.
Because
it's so stupid. But also, I think that on the first date, everybody can pay for their own food. That's just my opinion on the first date. That's my tips to my couples, not my couples, but my people that I see, and I see men and women, and I let them know that it's okay for you to not want to pay for her food on the first date if you don't want to. Mm-hmm. He don't have to.
Communicate that before the first date, though. There is an old school rule of if I invite you versus if you invite me, that's the person.
That's just pays. What I tell.
Either way, just communicate.
Just have a conversation about first date expectations. And if you're trying to date and you don't want to spend so much money and you feel pressure to, you don't have to feel pressure to. Mm-hmm. You don't.
So how would you say if someone says, I want to take you out, and they're like, oh, by the way, just so you know, I do plan on paying for it.
Yeah, that could be simple. It really don't have to be that hard.
I think, but it is hard because social media has made these conversations around black people on social media, because we the only race sitting around talking about this. Everybody else is off doing their thing. We the only race sitting around talking about what somebody brings to the table and paying for first date meals. I think that it's okay for what I tell my people that I see, like if he invites you out, it's okay for you as a woman. You can check in and say, hey, just checking in, first date expectation. Are you comfortable paying for my food, or should I be prepared to pay for my own? I think that type of communication can be direct and it can take people aback, but it's necessary in order to build a sustainable relationship.
For sure.
And then the next date, maybe you will get it. And I always tell women, romance is not just for you. It's also for men.
Exactly, yeah.
Men also desire romance.
Right.
Now, do they struggle in therapy trying to say what makes them feel special? Absolutely. I'm like, think about it. It's something to make you feel special. Right. Get into it. Right. But
they're not as practiced at accessing it.
No, but I love working on that with them. Mm-hmm. What tips do y'all have for people? I said texting somebody if you're thinking about them, having a conversation about first date.
I definitely think it's under the same guise. releasing unrealistic expectations. Please work on unhealed relationship trauma, because that plays a big part in expectations, and communication styles plays a big part in like what you've experienced before, thinking it's supposed to be the same, but you've not really worked through or grieved the necessary things to move forward. But so those are my big things. I have one more. No, that was it. That's my tips.
I would say just really get curious about the other person,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
about who they are as a person, about what they like, what they don't like, and make sure that you're showing up as your most authentic self. So that, again, y'all can know up front there is no trying to lead somebody astray or lead somebody on. It's really, really is just two people trying to get to know one another. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool. Nobody has to be a bad guy.
Right.
You're just two people that are really
It's
interested in getting to know
misalignment.
each other.
It's not
Right.
personal.
Right, exactly.
Misalignment and not personal. What?
I did want to talk about, and I should have brought this up a little bit earlier. I'm sorry. Have y'all noticed addiction or emotional or physical abuse coming up more
Yeah.
in your relationships?
Say that again.
Addiction
Addiction?
and the role it play in the role of physical and mental abuse, because some of the stuff that I was reading saying that these are also now some of the leading causes of divorce.
Addiction?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And abuse.
And abuse, mental and
Yeah.
physical. And I feel like these are also some of the things that probably play a role in divorce that maybe didn't play a role in divorce back in the day.
Addiction and also mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is coming up in the next session.
Right.
Okay, let's go to it.
Yeah.
For sure. But yes, that is something that, and physical health.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So I can just see. So back to we were talking about dating, but back to divorce. I can say that I have from 2020 to like now. I work with a lot of middle-aged women who have come to me with their specific goals, process of whether or not they should leave their marriage. That's their content they want to talk about in therapy, and their reasons have been things like they won't get a physical checkup, they won't get blood work, they won't change their contacts. These are things that women are saying like, you're going to be blind in about 10 years and who's going to be left to take care of you? And I've had women come and say, I don't mind like being a caretaker, but I need you to take care of your physical health.
Right. Like
Those-
don't expedite the process.
Yeah,
by not doing
and
it.
and alcoholism.
Yeah.
So that goes back though to, we're speaking specifically about obviously women leaving relationships, but that goes back to men's mental health
Right.
and it being such a, really just a taboo topic.
Right.
And I think that does impede on, again, a woman kind of being like, this is too much for me.
Right.
My girl said she ain't been having no sex.
Oof.
Yeah.
We ain't having sex.
Yeah, I think
That's
we're reading
not
of the
okay.
ride or die
Yeah.
ideology, and we have questions now. Because where are we going? What
Yes.
are we about to do?
Yes.
How are you taking care of yourself? Have you been to therapy? I think that's another thing.
Of
That's
course.
a big
Oh,
part
yeah.
of what makes a person attractive to someone or not.
That in first date questions, I'm always encouraging my clients to ask people, what is their self-care treatment like? What is their mental health care like? Are they opposed to therapy? A lot of people actually don't want to go to therapy, which is a
Or
thing.
how to
I
handle
have
their
been-
stress. And if they only say one thing,
Yeah.
red flag.
The gym.
I have been on a date.
Baby, if that's it, you too grown for that.
No,
a lot
like,
of them
seriously.
You too grown for that. Why you only got one coping skill?
No, like
Then something like COVID happened and then boom, what? You don't know how to cope no more. You're nothing more than a teenager who doesn't have their cell phone now. What are we doing?
COVID
Yeah,
is one of the
avoid
reasons
it.
why people did start drinking and doing substance use more, is what I was reading for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
now you can
I
get
don't
the
know
shit
if
delivered.
this session hit on. We kind of went all over the place.
We did.
I was trying
But
to
hopefully y'all follow.
keep it.
It's all right. It's all right. Let us know if you got any questions.
Girl, what is going
We'll
on?
be glad to follow back
The,
up on them.
the overall thing is that I wanted to say is that there is this myth that black women don't want love and marriage and all the other shit. It's a lie. Black women
It's
do want
definitely
it.
a lie.
I do.
Black women want it.
Yes.
But not at the cost of shrinkage
Nope.
of themselves and betrayal
any
of
kind of way.
themselves in any kind of
In
way.
Any
No
kind of
shrinkage
way.
in
And that's a
any kind of way.
non-negotiable, baby.
Non-negotiable. But anyways, go love yourself.
Go love yourself.
Go love yourself.